What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the remote front office. As always, before we get started, go ahead and make sure to subscribe, turn that notification bell on, and leave a like. We are over here uploading Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. I understand it is the dead of the off season, but we are slowly making our way to regular season NBA basketball. We did get a couple of games announced as far as opening night, Christmas, and then a couple of marquee regular season matchups. Once we get the full schedule release, though, I'll do a Bulls reaction, Bulls prediction, as well as some over-unders, and then some predictions on standings for this upcoming year. But today we are covering the New York Knicks offseason, so let's go ahead and get into it. So to start with the subtractions from the team, not a whole lot here, but the first name is Derrick Rose. He is going to Memphis. I'm curious as far as his role in Memphis, whether it is more of a mentor role or more of an actual playing games contribution, because he, especially towards the end here in New York, he's getting a lot less minutes than he was at the beginning, because as you guys know, he's a Tibbs guy, so Tibbs was relying on him instead of playing the younger guys. But this last season, it seemed like it kind of switched a little bit, and Derrick Rose was more in that mentor role for the Knicks. And the only other person that is no longer on the roster is Obi Toppin. He went to Indiana. I like the move for Indiana just because I think with more minutes, he can show more. His minutes were pretty limited in New York just because of Julius Randle. He can't really run him and Julius Randle at the same time. And then also the center position is pretty locked down for New York. So curious to see maybe him play some small ball 5 in Indiana, as well as get some minutes at their power forward position. Now, as far as additions go, again, not a whole lot of big names here, but Dante DiVincenzo came over from the Warriors to reunite with Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Makes sense, obviously. I just think that you're bringing in that Villanova pedigree, and I think with the right role, did they overpay? Possibly slightly, but I think given the right role, I think he can exceed in it, and also it'll just be a better team chemistry atmosphere. And then they also brought in Nathan Knight from Minnesota. I'm assuming, again, this is more of a bench 10th, 11th man rather than actual meaningful rotational minutes. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot. They did also bring in Dylan Windler from Cleveland. Again, I'm assuming this is more of a wing depth rather than him getting a whole lot of minutes here, right? Maybe 9th man at best. They did end up re-signing Josh Hart to an extension. I did see a lot of people say overpay, but you do have to remember salary cap is starting to go up pretty consistently now that we are out of the COVID era. And so with that, in a couple of years, that deal is going to look like a normal mid-level exception, and nobody's going to bat an eye at it. And they did also re-sign Dwayne Washington Jr. Off of his qualifying offer. So again, more depth for this team. As far as where do I see this team going this year, I don't see a way for them unless Philly really tanks, right? I don't see a way for them into the top 4. I think it's pretty solidified as far as Boston, Milwaukee, Philly, Cleveland. Not necessarily in that order. It's just the order they finished in last year. But I do think that, again, Milwaukee, I think with Giannis, you're guaranteed to be a top 3 seed. With Philly, I think you're more than likely going to be a top 3 seed, depending on the Harden stuff, which we'll touch on a little bit here in a second. And then Cleveland, I think just with the amount of youth, a lot of those guys are going to play a significant amount of games. And so with that and given the talent levels, I don't see how they're not a 47-plus win team, right? And I don't think that New York really got that much better or that much worse to really get out of that 5 seed. But that's just kind of my overview of it. I, again, think they're kind of right about in the same range. Second round playoff team at best right now. I don't see them as a conference finals level team. But again, that could all change. They do have plenty of picks. They have some good young guys, good reasonable contracts that could pair that all together. And, a star demands a trade this season or maybe next offseason. And they're right up there in that top 3 contention all of a sudden in the East. But that's just my thoughts on it. And then really quick, I did want to touch on the James Harden news. So if you guys didn't see over the weekend, Initially, it was reported that Philly has closed down trade offers for Harden as they just weren't getting whatever return that they were looking for. And then a little while after that, we got the quote from Harden of, "I'm not playing for Daryl Morey. He's a liar," and then repeated himself in case it got aggregated just to prove the point. This has turned into a tire fire. We all know how Harden is with just his general once he wants out, he wants out. This is a little bit different, and I gave those reasons before, but it's essentially because he opted in. Um, there's a clause that if he doesn't play in the CBA, that essentially his contract rolls over until he keeps playing. He has to play out a year with this team. He can't just sit at home until he gets traded. So Daryl Morey is a very patient person. Uh, he's not going to just flip Harden to flip Harden. He's going to want the right deal. Curious as to what that deal will be. And personally, I'm not entirely sure why Harden didn't just decline the player option and go move on somewhere else. Maybe he just assumed that the money wasn't going to be out there, or they were trying to give him closer to a Draymond deal, something like that. But I think he could have gotten at least the 1 year 30 plus from somebody. But yeah, that's it for today's video. Just kind of a quick little wrap up of both those things that broke over the weekend. I will see you guys back here on Wednesday. Peace.